My name is Allie and welcome to my channel, and today I'm going to be talking about something that I have wanted to talk about on my channel for so long, like probably since I started filming book videos. I've wanted to talk about this topic, and I feel like now is definitely the right time to actually get into it and explain myself. And yeah, so I didn't write anything down for this video, so it might end up being a little bit rambly at times, but I hope that I can kind of keep my thoughts in order and keep it as linear as possible. So basically what I'm going to talk about right now, I mean, I'm sure you can see from the title, but I am going to talk about why I don't really read a lot of books written by men, and B, a lot of books with the main character and the singular point of view being male. So I've gotten several questions about this, like, over the course of my booktube career, if you want to call it that, but I haven't ever really gone into true detail about why this is, and this has been this way since I want to say 4th grade. And I want to clarify that this does not mean that I am 100% against reading books about men by men or anything like that. I definitely have a lot of favorites from male authors and with a male main character. Like, that's definitely not something that I'm like 100% against and I'm like, this is, you know, whatever. But this has definitely been something very important to me, like I said, since the 4th grade, because that was kind of around the time when I started to notice that A, a lot of books were written by men, and B, even if they weren't written by men, they were definitely about men. And I just wasn't really interested in that, and I kind of felt like I need to actually put forth effort into finding books that are A, written by women, and B, about women, or at least anyone who's not male. So that was kind of like my thing. Like, even in the 4th grade, I knew, and I remember the exact moment when I decided this, because I was trying to read Harry Potter, and at that point I had seen some of the movies and I really loved them. I absolutely fell in love with the Harry Potter movies, and when I knew that they were books, I was like, okay, I definitely want to read these because I like them as movies. And so I ended up trying to read the first Harry Potter book in 4th grade. And I could not connect with it. I didn't enjoy it. I felt like it was really mediocre, and I was so confused about why people really, really loved these books and why they translated so well into a movie, but they just weren't interesting as books. And I was kind of upset. So I remember at that point in time with my 4th grader brain being like, I don't want to read mediocre books about men just because they're popular. You know what I mean? And I felt like that was kind of a good statement, which I still think is a pretty good statement, especially for a 4th grader, being like, I shouldn't have to read mediocre books about boys even if they're like really popular or classics or whatever. It just doesn't seem to be something that I need to do. And that was kind of when I decided that I wasn't going to read books that were mediocre or just okay or just good, that were about boys or men and or written by boys or men, you know, whatever. So that's kind of when I decided. That's when it all started. And then I got really into a lot of female authors and books about girls and women, and that was a really important part of like kind of my adolescence, of like not settling for books that I just didn't enjoy, and that was just part of it. And this also really translated into my high school reading, because a lot of the books, I think at least, I want to say almost every single book that we read in high school was either written by a man or was about a man or both, and that really frustrated me. Like, once I got to sophomore year in high school, I just stopped reading them. I would try to give them a chance because, you know what, I want to get a good grade. I want to do well in my English classes. That's really important to me. but I would give them a chance and I just did not like them. And I've always been very confused about why these mediocre books written about mediocre guys are hailed as like amazing literature. Like, I didn't like Catcher in the Rye or Lord of the Flies or things like that. And I was just like, why? Why is this good? Like, why do people think that this is like the epitome of classic literature when I'm like, this is just some book written about some mediocre boy or boys or whatever. When I'm like, I can think of so many books written by incredible women about incredible women that are not taught at all in high school. And I was just so shocked because especially in my freshman year class, we read books like Speak and we read Romeo and Juliet, and those have two really amazing and strong female characters. And it just didn't like I just didn't understand why we needed to read so many books that were considered classics but didn't really have any female representation. And I don't want to make this video too repetitive because this is really a pretty easy thing to explain. It's just I don't tend to gravitate towards books written by men or about men. And that has been true for, like, as I said, since like 4th grade, though I think that I could probably trace it back even further into like my life. And it's just something that I've always just lived by. Like, I do give books written by men or about men or both a chance. I do. I try to give any book a chance as much as possible, but I tend to really not gravitate towards those books. So I tend to find that a lot of books written by women, you know, are a bit more empathetic and deal more with interpersonal relationships, whereas a lot of male writers tend to kind of focus more on the self and more internally, and more of just like everything is kind of revolving around that one main character. And it's just a little bit different. This, obviously, I keep wanting to say this, but it's not every single male writer, and that's definitely not like, I don't know if it's the majority. I don't think I've read enough male written books to say that it's the majority, but it's definitely what I've experienced when reading male written books. And I think it's definitely true specifically for male adult writers in comparison to male YA writers. But I've definitely given a lot of male YA authors a try, and it's just I haven't really found any that I really connect with, or I connect with their work at all. It's just kind of difficult to find that for me. The one off the top of my head that I can think of is definitely William Ritter, and he wrote the Jacobi series, which I really enjoyed. And I can't really think of too many other male authors that I've really liked. So I think at this part of the video, you guys can start suggesting some male authors that I might enjoy. There are definitely a lot that I've tried and kind of didn't really like, including John Green. I didn't really like any of his books except for The Fault in Our Stars at a time, but I don't really enjoy it now, so definitely not John Green. And I did try an Adam Silvera book, but I just could not connect with it at all. It was a real struggle to get through. So maybe I'll try some of his books in the future, but I don't think that that's necessarily going to happen. However, there are definitely some books about male main characters that I've really enjoyed, like Dear Martin by Nick Stone and A Study in Charlotte by Brittany Cavallaro. Also, I really love Percy Jackson by Rick Riordan. I've read, I think, the first 3 books, but I haven't really gotten around to finishing the rest of the series. At some point, I really want to do that, but I just haven't gotten around to it. But I love Rick Riordan. I think he's a wonderful author. And like I mentioned earlier, I really love William Ritter and his Jacobi series, and I totally recommend that series if you like stalking Jack the Ripper, because they have very similar aesthetics and feels and characters. So those are definitely like 2 almost like companion books that you can read. And also, little tip, the audiobook narrators for both of those series are exactly the same. So they're perfection. Also, I can't believe I forgot about this book, but I also really love Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. Really love it. I think what I really want to focus on though is finding some male written books that are about men of color or queer men or anything like that. I think that that's kind of what I really want to focus on. So if you want to suggest some books like that, I would totally be down for that. And overall, I just have a certain way of finding books that I want to read and books that I enjoy, and I don't think it's really that deep, but some people get a little riled up about it, which is okay. I totally understand where they're coming from, but I really don't think it's that big of a deal. And yeah, I just wanted to share that with all of you guys. I hope that this sounded at all coherent, because I feel like I've just been a little lost during this video, but really it's very simple. I started in 4th grade. It's just been like that forever. It's just what I'm drawn towards, and I don't really have too much of an explanation for it. It's just what I enjoy reading. So if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and go ahead and comment some recommendations that you guys have for what I'm looking for, which, like I said, are some books that are written about men of color or queer men or queer men. I'd really like to find some of those, and I hope you enjoyed once again, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!